Hi. I think I'm very happy, also a lucky person, luckiest person in the world, because I choose the career, things I like to do, and every day, before I wake up or before I get out of bed, I was thinking what I'm going to do today, and I could not wait to go to my studio to do what I love to do. That's why today the subject is my love and my work, my love, my passion. Doing what I'm doing, if you don't have passion, you are not going to accomplish anything. For a period of time, my wife was jealous of my work. And she said, you love your work more than you do me. I think it's different. And then my work doesn't talk back to me. The reason I pick ceramics as a medium, I do, because the porcelain is very white, dense, and translucent, and they always give me challenges. I love challenges. If life without challenges, why you live? Boring. And every time I think I overcome the problem I encountered, and the porcelain showed me, no, there's new ones waiting for you. That's why I keep doing it almost 40 years. And I'm very lucky. I live in very beautiful part of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. And I carve a piece of heaven on earth. I have beautiful koi ponds. On top of the pond, I have lotus pond. That's why they give me inspirations. I carve, that's my potter's wheel, that's what I saw. I carve a lot of lotus on my vase. And the porcelain is composed with 4 different, mainly 3 ingredients. It's a kaolin, feldspath, and silica, or flame, a glass former. Sometimes you want to make it work better. You add, 0.25% or less of ball clay, make it more plastic, workability. And also depends on where the ball clay coming from, because a lot of ball clay got a lot of organic material in it, also with iron content. That will affect the glaze you apply later. In the beginning, I searched best kaolin I can find in the world. Unfortunately, Chinese doesn't export their kaolin. So I find the last best thing is Graulich porcelain, which is from Dover in England. That's why you see the white cliffs, that's Dover in England. Now I show you the map where they are. It took me many years to formulate the clay body. And it took me many years to get a feeling how to throw the porcelain on potter's wheel, like you are dealing with cottage cheese. They are so creamy, yet they collapse. Very difficult. If I'm away from potter's wheel for a couple of weeks, Then I go back to my studio. I have to work very hard to get my feeling back, get my touch back. Otherwise, my work won't turn out the way I want it. That's why I keep doing it for almost 40 years. People say, oh, you're a master. No, I'm not. I'm just a potter. I try to be better. For so many years, I work on glazes. And the glazes got to be able to work with my clay body. That means when you fire them, the bonding will be very good. They'll fuse together. When you hit them, ding, sounds just the fuse, the merge, fuse together very well. Otherwise, they will chip. I have many thousands glazes recipes. When I'm getting older, I simplify. I get to only few of them I like. I carve. These are my carving tools. I'm very cheap. I cannot afford it to buy stainless steel scalper anymore. They cost a lot of money. So I went to hardware store to buy saw blade. I sharpen them. They become my carving tools. That's one of my early days. That's my kiln. It's a gas kiln. You see, I load my glazes pot all the way up to the top. There's no gaps between the shelves. But after fired, they're shrinking 18 to 20%. The higher temperature you fired, the higher rate of shrinkage. Those are my favorite glazes. The blue is Chang blue. In the same family are Chang red, oxblood. You just use different kind of pigments. Red use copper. The Chang blue use cobalt and iron. And the yellow, of course, I cannot tell you what's in it. This is another one. I'm getting bored to make straight up teardrop forms, so I twist them. Of course, porcelain has memories. Sometimes when you twist them, you did a damage. You are not able to, you don't see them. After fired, then they are going to show you. Sometimes they're just falling off. This is lotus vase on the pedestals. This truly inspired by my lotus pond. See lotus flower coming out from lily pad, then I carve lotus over it. It's a celadon. Celadon comes to many shade colors. It all depends on percentage of iron in your clay or in your glazes. And also you have to fire them with pay a lot of attention. How you reduce, how you clean the kiln up in the final stage. Otherwise, color will never turn out or changing colors. That's why Chinese call yao bian, kiln changed. This is my latest design. That's in the fall. During the fall, lotus forming the sea pots. Just before the lid, take me many weeks to try to figure out what shall I do with the lid. Every design coming out take me many weeks or months or years. They don't just come out overnight. And then once you come out with design, what you're going to do, you have to do experiments. The balance, how they're going to turn out, overall contour, the design. The way I look at each vase is like a beautiful model without clothes on. Before I fired, I line them up in my studio. I take personal notes. Oh, this one go with which glaze, that one go with other glaze, will look better. And each glaze take me forever to glaze because I don't pour them, I don't dip them. I spray them. I spray each glaze, build up the thickness I want them. And the glaze will turn out. So each piece takes a long time. And in the firing, it's sad thing sometimes is nothing turn out. And each work takes so long for me, and each firing takes me 4 or 5 months to build up another inventory. And in the firing, they don't turn out, either 50% if I'm lucky, or sometimes I'm very lucky, 80%. And that's why the porcelain, if you don't mind use the word bitch, is very terrible. American language is very good. Sometimes you can just hit right at the point. Now, doesn't mean bitch is bad words, but it's good words. No? This one, similar piece in the White House, permanent collection. The so-called peach vase on a pedestal. And the pedestal sometimes take much longer than the vase itself. And the appendage you attach to it, sometimes because it got different consistency, different redness, then don't attach. Or sometimes you attach them, you get them, you attach them, but in other fire, then falling off, then cracked. But you go back, you want to make another pedestal to fit, but they already shrink. Unless you have very, very good, precise records, the dimension. Otherwise, no. And yet, there's another problem. Because you fire at different time, the glaze won't turn out the same. So that's another problem. That's why a lot of people don't want to do porcelain. But the porcelain give me headaches all the time. I like it. Because that was my specialty. I take care of the headaches. That's one of the pedestals. Of course, you have a lot of questions to ask me. Just hold on. You can ask me later. I'll do my best to answer the question you have. This another one is dragon vase, double dragons. That's another very difficult one. You see the teeth, the fangs? They are so small. You have to attach them one by one, put it on. Sometimes take me a long, long time to put one of the teeth on, the fan on. Because before I apply on, because they are so fine, the porcelain get dry already. And the dragon also dry too. So you have to try and try until they attach to each other. And I'm very, very fortunate. When I was sitting in the back here, I said, finally everything go together. My wife is a jeweler. She inlaid the ruby in the dragon's eyes. And the photos, I'm very lucky, my oldest son took all the photos. He took all my photos. That is his hobby now. Used to be his profession. But if everybody in my family are artists, I think we're all going to starve. So he changed. He became IT guy. This is a detailed shot of the dragon. You can see the tongue is red, and that's another very difficult, because the tongue is red, is ox blood. A lot of times they don't turn out. If dragon without red tongue, they don't look right. If dragon without ruby in the eyes, they don't have spirits. They don't look like it's alive. So Chinese saying, when you drawing a dragon, last thing you do is do the dragon's eyes. That's another view of the dragon vase. That's another one. See, this celadon is different color than previous ones because they got different firing in the different firings. This is now pear jar, celadon jar. I carved this in the spring. Springtime is most beautiful time, in May and June, and the lotus fully blossom and leaves fully coming out. When the wind blows, they're dancing in the winds, are very poetic. They inspire me. I combine the prickly melon with the lotus vase. This one so-called lotus vase, lotus flower on the lotus vase. And this is another very difficult one because there's only one little hole on top of the flower. And this is about 16 inches tall. And because such big volumes, the body is hollow, and the molecule in the high temperature in the high temperature in the firing, they are so fast, going so fast, then looking for place to escape. A lot of times they explode. This is another very difficult design. And most people who see, oh, it's beautiful, but do you know, it's bitch to do it. This prickly is surgical implant, one by one applied. Those are very, I don't want to use the same words, it becomes redundant, but it's hell. Very difficult. This one, latest one, punk study. And that's one day I was sitting there drinking my wine. On the top, I look at it. I say, I can do one of this. But this another design very difficult. You see this prickly? The stems. Sometimes there's no room for you to attach the prickly on it. You cannot get to it. So I had to invent a new aperture to apply the pricklies. And in the firing, during the glazing, every step at the time is difficult because you got to glaze them evenly without overglazed. If you overglaze, they will drip. They don't look nice. And then you don't want to overglaze. If you overglaze, then cover up those hairy, thin pricklies. Let's take half the day, sometimes whole day to glaze. And the pedestal underneath, because I carved so deep, you did damage to it, you don't know. During the firing, then shrink, then cracked. You spend week, 2 weeks in the trash can. And so many people who want to come to my studio to say, I like the seconds. I say, not for sale. Every single part is through on potter's wheel. Then I attach them with the stamps. This is another very, very tall vessels. I think about 21, 22 inches. For porcelain, is very difficult. And this glaze, so-called crackle celadon, I try to make it like ancient, old. And then the lid is sculpted, the leaf with the twigs, branches on each side. Here's another one, these triple dragons, 3 dragons. This piece I did not get enjoyment out of it because the collector comes when I open the kiln. So when I open it, he said, I take this one. I did not have time really to enjoy it. This is another very large piece. This is another new design in the fall, or the sea pots. See, the lotus flower, they turn to sea pots. In all the ancient, like Egypt, India, China, Japan, they always use lotus flowers, leaves as a motif on painting or design. This oxblood, red, the pigment is come from copper, but sometimes they are very elusive in the kiln, in the firing. They filming. Sometimes the copper just go to other parts, or sometimes all the copper go out the chimneys, so it become very pale. I have a couple of samples here. Here's another one. This is also oxblood, but during firing, then change into flambe. You cannot design this only by accident. Now, flambe. This is another one, like oxblood. This is another very large vase, I think 15 or 16 inches diameter. On top of it, you add 18% before you fired. That's quite large. And each vase, I had to explain to you why I do this shape with very narrow neck. Because this is one of the most difficult shape you can do on potter's wheel. You think about it, one long cylinder, when you curve up, then getting smaller, smaller, smaller. Just like this, and getting smaller, smaller. By the time you get on the top, you don't have much clay left. You have to stretch to make the stamps, the top. And that on the needle size of holes. That's a challenge. I love challenges. That's why every morning I cannot wait to get up, go to my studio to work. Sometimes I keep working, I forgot it's time to eat dinner. And without drinking water either, I just keep doing it. I might be possessed, but I have fun. This is another one, another very large one. This also called oxblood, but changed into flambe. that French call fired. This yellow prickly melon, I push to the limits what the person can do. I threw this on potter's wheel, then I carved, then I applied. And then the tallest one just purchased by St. Louis Art Museum for their permanent collection. That's close up. This is very difficult. This long stems just took me 4.5 days doing nothing. Bored. If you don't love what you do, you'll be bored. And your eyes getting so tired, tears coming out. This is 3 of them, just pure foam, teardrop shapes. This is the newest. I go one step beyond. Just treat it just like celadons. Make a crackles. The impure yellow crackles. That's the newest thing I do. It's happened this picture appear on American Craft magazine, the latest issues on the front cover. I'm not trying to sell the magazine to you, just tell you. You can. And it's a physics. You work out a glaze and clay body, and then they will form the crackles. And then I don't like, look at the stem on the top. I don't like a stem straight up the crackles. I like nature form, follow the stems, curly. That's another way to glaze, so I work it out. Of course, I won't tell you. This is chunk blue. Use cobalt and iron instead of copper. These 2 gold glazes in the front use manganese. Of course, manganese is very poisoned. It will cause the kidney problems. And the background is Timucu's. That's one of my very favorite glaze. Unfortunately, they don't sell well. This so-called guanware, crackle glaze, have very good luck, fire very close to the oxblood, the red, the copper, filming, hit it, just right the spot, make it just like women put the lipstick on, make it so charming, so sexy. This is another glaze I have been doing for many, many years. For many years, I never show to the public because my wife loved it. She kept almost every one of them I make. And I can tell you how I make this. This glaze is for centuries. Chinese already did it. Maybe it's by accident, maybe it's not. You use alkaline glaze, and you add 1 or 2% of silicon carbide in the glaze. During the firing process, the heat makes silicon carbide put out a gas. The gas pokes through the alkaline glaze, then develop the pits, so-called lava glaze or crater glaze. Crater means bigger bubbles. And the lid is use iron oxide rubbing it. The bare branch carved branches and use celadon as leaves. That's a close This branch is carved. This is another one, very beautiful vase. This one is very difficult because the attachments. Because you use 3 different kind of glazes, and you just hope they all turn out. Sometimes the bubble, they spits, and then they will get to the celadons and make it look very ugly. But this one, I'm very lucky, they did not do that. There's a close-up forms. That's a lychee nuts. And that's also one by one applied. And it's very lucky red turned out. You think about without red, then don't look that good. That's close-up forms. This is another lava glaze, but this lava almost become craters because the bubble is much bigger, because you use more granular silicon carbide. This is another of my favorite bowls that look like sea foams. This is another very, very large jars, 28 inches. I try to show off, just say that permanent collection. This from Metropolitan Museum, the curators, and my work is the bridges between old and new. That's from the curator from Renwick Gallery, Smithsonian. I had to blow my own horn because I don't have a gallery to blow the horn for me. So I had to do this, because I had unpleasant experience with gallery in my early days, and maybe just my luck. The gallery did not pay me, or gallery run my work on consignment, never show my work. And by the time I want my work back, gallery closed. So I decided I am going to sell my own work. And I did research how this potter or artist, they established, how did they do it? In conclusion, I found out there are 2 kinds. One is go through gallery. Another one is they have academical careers. But I don't have any of them. So I have my own galleries. I sell my own work, sell my works, my wife's work, jewelry. Then I go to craft shows. I say, why not? You go to the major craft shows, sometimes several thousand people see your work on weekends. I say, just be patient. You're going to be there someday. People are going to find out if you just do good work, honest work. If I don't have passions with my work, I will quit doing what I'm doing. I love my work. Okay, now